What's going on, guys? It is the Coaster Battleman here, bringing you my top 10 amusement parks I've been to between the years 2016 and 2018. Like, these are the main parks I have been to from these years, and basically this is like my whole time being a coaster enthusiast. Like, the past 3 years I've been a coaster enthusiast, and this is my September 2018 edition of this video, and I hope you guys enjoy it. Let's get started. Number 10 is Indiana Beach, and this park is at number 10 because it's just simply not as good as these other parks. Plus, their operations weren't the greatest. And I know they actually do have a very nice, iconic boardwalk area with rides like all scattered throughout the boardwalk. It kind of reminds me of like a boardwalk park in New Jersey with everything on the pier. And then you have some rides that are kind of like on normal land, which is something I really think that's cool about Indiana Beach. It's kind of like a mix of the two, with normal theme park, normal amusement park, and boardwalk park. And the coaster lineup here isn't the greatest. You do have Steelhawk, which is a really good ride, but their next two coasters are Cornball Express, which is not as good as what I was hoping, and Tiger, which is a Schwarzkopf coaster with a terrible capacity and easily the worst operations out of any ride. Like, basically 5 to 10 cars would take an hour. That's how bad the operations were. Like 2 people per little car. You could see that the capacity was atrocious on some of these rides. Like Steelhawk, only 2 cars running, and each one can only fit 4. The wooden coasters had a decent amount of people that could fit on the trains, but only 1 train was running. The operations weren't that great. But this park, I thought it was a pretty unique place. They had a fun drop tower as well. And overall, I think this is a decent park. Not the biggest, but I still think it's a decent place to go. Number 9 is Michigan's Adventure, and this is a park just outside of Grand Rapids, and this is basically that city's main theme amusement park. And this park, they don't really have the greatest coaster collection. Thunderhawk's okay, Mad Mouse is okay. They're decent rides, in my opinion. I think they aren't bad rides, but I don't think they're like amazing. And then Shivering Timbers is their highlight attraction, and I think that's a really awesome wooden coaster. You have some really good airtime on that thing. But other than that and their water park, there isn't really much to note about this place, and they do have one of the worst roller coasters I've ridden in Wolverine Wildcat. That ride is just horrible. But I know there's some other good things about this park. They have the iconic lake in the center, but this park isn't a complete like circle or square. You have to go from Shivering Timbers to Thunderhawk instead of going straight through and walking past Wolverine Wildcat. You have to go all the way around, which I think is kind of stupid. I wish they had a pathway in between those 2 coasters. But overall, Michigan's Adventure, it's a clean park, but there's definitely a ton of things they need to improve on if they want to be a bit higher on the list, or to maintain that spot. Number 8 is Six Flags America, and this park is probably one of the dirtiest parks I've been to. And I mean, they did have a nice little front entrance going, like a pretty well themed front entrance. Like, we got there like right when it opened, and we were like the only 2 people in the park, my dad and I, and the place kind of felt abandoned. Like, the rides had like no lines, which was a very nice plus, but the operations weren't that great. Like, everything was running 1 train except for Raging Cajun. Like, everything, even Superman Ride of Steel was only running 1 train because the park was just so empty. And overall, there were some bad coasters there, like Mind Eraser and Apocalypse, but there were some really good coasters there, which included Joker's Jinx and Superman Ride of Steel, and I really liked the area by Mind Eraser. It's like a cool Wild West themed area, and the front entrance is really nice, and they do have a water park as well. So this park, it's an okay park. They have an okay line of attractions. Number 7 is Six Flags St. Louis, and I think this park is kind of like on that same boat as Six Flags America, where it's not the cleanest in the world, but there are some nice qualities to this place. Like, in my opinion, I think the operations are solid here. They run multiple trains on everything, like 2 trains each coaster. And they have some solid rides here, which include Screaming Eagle, American Thunder, Mr. Freeze, Reverse Blast, Batman the Ride. But they do have a few bad coasters in the Boss and Ninja. And the Ninja is just atrocious, easily the worst coaster in the park. But Six Flags St. Louis, they do have some solid flat rides and dark rides, an okay coaster lineup, and a nice water park. And this park has a really nice front area. It's a nice like little village area with a bunch of nice looking buildings. Like, I really like the front of the park and that area, but the rest of the areas, there's not really like a theme. It's just kind of like amusement park, county fair kind of style. And this park overall, I think it's decent. I think it's pretty good. Number 6 is Carowinds, and this park wouldn't be as high on the list if not for their top 3. And I'd have to say, if Intimidator and Fury 325 weren't at Carowinds, or some of their other Plants vs. Zombies, other attractions like the Plants vs. Zombies, then this park, like, if this was 10 years ago, this park would be pretty low on this list and not as good as Six Flags St. Louis or even Six Flags America if this was 10 years ago. But this park has definitely improved a ton over the past few years, since 2010. Like, 2010, they added Intimidator, an awesome B&M hypercoaster, and one of my favorite roller coasters of all time. Afterburn, which made my top 10 as well, that is still there. That's there. And Fury 325, my number 1 coaster, is at this park. The top 3 here is just amazing. I really like the Plants vs. Zombies dark ride. But then after that, they don't really have any other notable attractions or anything to talk about. And definitely the good coasters don't like the bad coasters. They outweigh the good coasters. And there aren't really that many like okay coasters. Like, you have Hurler, Carolina Cyclone, Flying Cobras. Those are decent rides. I thought those rides were decent and they were solid. But after that, the coasters weren't really that great. Like, this park, with their new for 2019 coaster, I hope will be a lot better. And a lot of the areas in this park have been redone, like the areas by Fury. The front entrance is so fantastic about this park. I love the front entrance of Carowinds, easily my favorite front entrance of any Cedar Fair park or amusement park in general. But the negatives definitely outweigh the positives, and those positives are so good that they made it at number 6. And number 5 is King's Dominion, and this park, it's in Virginia, and they have a nice coaster collection. You have Intimidator 305 and Twisted Timbers, which those are some elite rides. You have Dominator and Volcano as some very nice supporting coasters, and that's like their main 4 amazing coasters. And after that, they do have some solid coasters, which include Grizzly, Avalanche, Apple's Apple. Like, they have some other solid coasters there as well. And there are a few bad coasters here, but not nearly as bad as the coaster lineup at Carowinds with the amount of bad coasters they have. And this park is a nice, charming park. They have some beautiful areas, such as the International Street area. That was a beautiful area of the park. And I know I really liked Grizzly's area, the area by Grizzly where it was like a huge forest and stuff. I really liked that area. And the Intimidator 305 Plaza was very nice. And overall, King's Dominion, there were some really nice qualities to it, and I've heard that they've improved a ton over the past 10 years. And they're a really good park. Really, really like King's Dominion. Number 4 is Six Flags Great America, and one thing I have to say about this park is the lines are really long, unlike King's Dominion and Carowinds. But the coaster collection here is better than both of those. They have just one word to describe this park would be depth. Like, they have so many good coasters and solid attractions. Like, I'm not even joking, like, a ton of their coasters are really solid rides. Their wooden coasters are solid. They have a nice lineup of steel coasters. They have a great water park. And overall, Six Flags Great America, it's a classic amusement park. They have some older areas like Hometown Square, which is like a really old area of the park, one of the most iconic parts of the park. They have Southwest Territory, which is one of the major areas of the park, which is like a Wild West themed area. That's really cool. And overall, Six Flags Great America, great operations, great coasters, great water park. This is just a really good all-around park. And I could see this with Max Force being added, the best all-around Six Flags park in the chain. Number 3 is Busch Gardens Williamsburg, and Busch Gardens Williamsburg is just such a beautiful place. Like, I would consider it like more of a theme park than an amusement park. And I have to say, they have a solid coaster collection. They have Apollo's Chariot, which made my top 10 coasters I've ridden. I love Apollo's Chariot. The airtime is fantastic on it. You have Griffin, which is a great dive coaster. I really love Griffin. You also have a really good third best coaster in Verbolten. You have Invader and Loch Ness Monster as well. That's a very nice top 5 in my opinion. And overall, this park is just such a charming place to be. Like, you have some animals as well. And a lot of the rides are really well done. Their theming, especially Verbolten, they're like super well themed. And the areas of the park, like the architecture, the landscaping, it's just really beautiful, very nice, and the pathways are just super nice. And in this park, there's tons of shaded areas, and I know it gets hot down in Virginia, but this park, they definitely are a great all-around park, and they're a very convenient place for anyone who goes there. Number 2 is Kings Island, and this is just a fun amusement park to be at. They have tons of great coasters, tons of depth. They have good flat rides. Like, this is just a fun amusement park to be. They have a bunch of stuff for everyone. A massive Planet Snoopy area for the kids. And their top 4 coasters are just amazing. You have Banshee and Diamondback in the steel coaster department. And then with the wooden coasters, you have the Beast and Mystic Timbers, which are all awesome coasters in their own right. You have some solid aerodynamics coasters in the Bat and Vortex, and there's just tons of depth coasters at this park. And you have a very nice International Street area. Not as nice as King's Dominions in my opinion. The fountains aren't as nice as the King's Dominion fountains, like in the middle water area. But still, like, Kings Island, very fun Cedar Fair park, beautiful park, nice, and it's really clean, and they have a great water park as well. But you guys know what my number 1 amusement park is. I'm not gonna go too much in depth here. It's Cedar Point, the roller coaster capital of the world, and they have an awesome coaster collection: Maverick, Top Thrill Dragster, Millennium Force, Wicked Twister, Magnum XL 200. They have tons of amazing coasters. They have really good flat rides. And overall, Cedar Point is just a fun place to be. It may be a crowded park sometimes, especially during Halloween times when they do their Halloweekends events. But this is just such a great park. You have some of the best coasters in the world here. And overall, Cedar Point, they have a very nice front entrance. You have tons of iconic coasters. And overall, this park, even though it's an amusement park, is just what an amazing experience. Like, it's all about the experience being at Cedar Point. This is one of the coolest amusement parks out there. Easily the top amusement park in the world for coasters. They have tons of family rides as well, tons of thrilling rides. This is just an amazing place for everyone. And they're easily my number 1 amusement park that I have been to. So thank you guys so much for watching. And as always, stay tuned for more videos.